Hey everyone, people tell you to invest in the stock market, but do you actually know what it means to buy a stock? Keep watching and let's find out. Hey everyone, it's Elliot at Project Money TV. Now, I know a lot of you are trying to figure out how to get started with investing. So I'm putting together a series of videos to help you get started with some of the more common and easier types of assets to invest in. Today, we're going to start with stocks, as I think that's going to lay a good foundation for us to later discuss mutual funds and ETFs. But subscribe to the channel and stay tuned because we're going to talk about bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, and a couple of investment strategies as well. So with that said, what's a stock? Well, one of the more common definitions that you're going to hear out there is that stock represents an ownership share in a company. But what does that really mean? So let's take a deeper dive. Sometimes individual companies need additional financial resources, or simply put, money, to grow, hire more people, build out their infrastructure, etc. Now, there's a lot of different ways that a company can go about raising more money to expand, and issuing stock is one of them. Essentially, a company will break itself up into a bunch of little pieces, and it's going to sell those individual pieces to individual investors. Sometimes it could be millions of pieces, other times it could be hundreds of millions of pieces. Those individual pieces are known as individual shares of common stock. So let's break down those two terms real quick. Common stock represents the ownership that a company sells when it's raising money for itself. The individual shares are the claim or the certificate that the individual investor, like you or I, have on that ownership. Sometimes those shares are sold through what's called an initial public offering, or more commonly referred to as an IPO, where a privately owned company will make itself publicly owned. Other times, for already public companies, they'll create additional shares and sell those off in what's called a follow-on offering. Ultimately, the holders of those shares are referred to as shareholders, and each shareholder owns a percentage of that company. The more shares that the shareholder accumulates, the greater of the ownership that the investor can increase for themselves. So why do investors buy common stock? Well, as I mentioned before, shareholders of common stock own an actual part of that company. And as an owner, they benefit directly from the potential growth or the potential profits of that company. The value of the shares is tied to the company's performance. If the company is already large and established, it may be that the company pays a cash dividend, meaning that it pays its shareholders a periodic cash payment. Now, as I said, the value of those shares is tied to the performance of that company. So if the company goes through a rough period where the performance declines, then the value of those shares may go down as well. And yes, individual stocks can go down to zero. Now, I also want to point out that companies only raise funds for themselves when they issue new stock, meaning the initial public offering or the follow-on offering. When you or I buy individual shares, say through our brokerage account, we're not giving new money to that company. We're buying shares from already existing shareholders. In other words, we're buying someone else's ownership through a stock market or a stock exchange. Now, here's a fun fact. Back in the day, individual stock used to be issued on a paper certificate, like the one shown here. Now, the paper certificate would have the investor's name, the name of the company, the number of shares issued, and the date. Today, when you and I buy individual stocks, we buy them electronically through our brokerage, but I'm willing to bet that someone's grandparents out there probably have some physical stock certificates somewhere in a safe. So I hope you have a little bit of a better understanding of what a stock is and what it means to invest in stocks. If you have any questions or any ideas for future videos, post them in the comments below and I'll respond to as many as I can. My name's Elliot Mendoza. Thanks for watching Project Money TV, and please subscribe, hit the like or dislike button, and tune in again.